Greetings to all the climate leaders here. We are living in an age of undeniable climate change, a type of change that will have an impact on us for generations to come. As a matter of fact, we already are experiencing that impact in the form of elevated carbon emissions, increased global warming, and subsequent sea level rise, ravaging wildfires that have decimated acres of forests, lands, declining forest covers around the world, climate-induced disasters such as cyclones, inevitable floods, droughts, famines, etc., especially in tropical countries such as Vietnam. We are at the edge of the map, but we are still waiting for that moment when we would have no choice but to take drastic measures to survive, immense trade-offs to save the world and humanity, or else lose the edge. Over centuries, we have fought amongst ourselves to survive. Wars after wars for dominance, and the bloodshed was the crushing cost that somehow we were able to live with. The human race has been, unfortunately, extremely selfish. And sadly, our best learning occurs when we lose what we neglect to value out of that selfishness. Our environment is the prime example. 2015 was the year when leaders of the world came together to sign the landmark page-turning agreement, the Paris Agreement. Even though carrying a great deal of uncertainty, when 195 ratifying member countries had signed off on preparing and submitting national carbon commitments or nationally determined contributions every 5 years, which would then be subjected to global stocktake. The first one to happen in 2023. The global stocktake is where experts around the world receive data on the respective member countries' NDC and progress reports and conduct reviews and publish the key findings to keep a track of how these countries have furthered their efforts on the 1.5 degrees Celsius 2050 target of the Paris Agreement. These NDCs facilitate an excellent step in ramping up efforts toward the climate target. The member countries are offered a direction and a support base by virtue of submission of their game plans or NDCs and the reviews that they receive from the agreement to help them build on their previous efforts and streamline them. Earlier I had mentioned the NDCs to be carrying a great deal of uncertainty. The reason is very simple: indirect oversight. This means that the member countries have enough flexibility when they formulate their climate mitigation equations. Enough flexibility implies loopholes, deadweight expectations, and even complacency or neglect. It implies manipulated data. These issues arise because some countries are not ready to bear the trade-off that comes along with environmental protection, that is, development, socio-economic or infrastructural. Choosing development in a highly competitive international system over environmental protection is a compelling action, and these countries are usually developing or emerging economies. Let's take the example of India. Home to 1.3 billion people and the second largest democracy in the world, India is a developing, emerging economy that at the same time is battling the climate crisis in terms of climate mitigation and adaptation through effective renewable energy management and rigorous efforts to turn coal use into clean coal use. 53.6% of the power generation of India's installed capacity is coal-based. Furthermore, as per India's NDC, coal will continue to be a dominant source of power generation in the country. This means that the government of India will have to put in twice the effort in mitigating the carbon footprint of coal synthesis than it already has been putting in. Every developing country has that one factor to battle climate change. One challenging factor. For India, it is coal. Now, there are 5 factors that make climate mitigation a Herculean task. Number 1, population. As I mentioned earlier, India accounts for 17.7% of the world's population, distributed highly unequally. Each person in this 17.7% or the 1.3 billion figure has energy, housing, food, security, and lifestyle needs. This makes achieving the set climate target exponentially difficult because of the intended lack of oversight over such a large population, even if it's a decentralized democracy. Number 2, geography. India basically is the hegemonic power in South Asia. It is home to abundant natural resources and hydropower, especially hydropower. With an immense land surface area among the countries in South Asia, India is always vigilant about safeguarding its abundant natural resources. Number 3, type of economy. India is historically and essentially an agrarian economy, even though the shift to the mixed economy took place several years ago. Its 1.3 billion people depend on its agricultural economy every day. Due to the climate-induced seasonal droughts or elevated levels of precipitation, agriculture takes a significant setback, with farmer suicides being one of the plaguing challenges that the country faces. The government of India struggles between keeping the farmers alive, which implies intensive farming techniques and methods, and making tough decisions to save the environment and probably hurt its polity. Number 4, social constraints. A pluralistic country like India often finds itself at crossroads with managing ancient beliefs with pragmatism. The country has had numerous religions and cultural beliefs bear fruit on its soil, and these beliefs sometimes come at a great environmental cost. However, the Chief Minister of New Delhi implemented a ban on bursting firecrackers this year is a hopeful step. Aside from great environmental measures, Indian people across the states have taken steps to ensure reduced carbon emissions in the celebrations for more than a couple of years now. Therefore, one can see environmental sensitivity on the rise among the people. This is just one instance of many other instances. Number 5, economic constraints. As I mentioned earlier, there is always a significant trade-off between economic development and environmental protection. In any developing country, poverty is the biggest challenge in a lot of respects. About 30% of the country's population is poverty-stricken. The latest unemployment statistic stands at 5.4%, not accounting for the perils of the pandemic. However, the upside of going for the green economy is the thousands of jobs that would emanate out of it. For example, the installation of hydropower systems or the integration of renewable energy in the national grids are quite labor intensive and green procedures. India's NDC also highlights the problem of achieving the most eloquent human development index, which is too crucial to be let go of for any developing nation. On concluding thoughts, we live in a world where multilateralism is the key to correcting climate change. Multilateralism is what got the Paris Agreement into force. Multilateralism is what got the wheels on Doha Amendment in October this year turning. This is a common thread in most countries' NDCs, the requirement of external or international cooperation and assistance. This implies inclination not towards unilateralism but a multilateral effort. Climate change is a global public good, and the existence of the nationally determined contribution submissions is a great assurance of the countries, developed and developing, being together in this. It is when the leaders of the world unite for the common problem, their people unite. Even today, climate sensitization is suffering. A lot of people are not aware of the depths of what this problem really is. Another strain is the lack of extended assistance from developed countries towards the developing nations. International carbon markets are great facilitators of the developed and developing countries' cooperation. However, the realism ingrained in the politics of the nations pulls the selfless good that can be done. Thank you.